He for She is a speech by Emma Watson. She held this at the UN conference talking about women and their rights. She starts out by talking about how feminism has become a negative word. The word we use in our everyday lives is actually become like something where we talk about women. They use it like to hate on men. Like they don't really use it to talk about equality. They use it to hate on men and talk about how they should be treated better than men, and that she wants to prove that that is not the case. She talks about how there is no country in the world who has where both men and women have equal rights. So it's not, and it is not only a problem that is like for women. It is a problem that is also for men, because some men cannot accept help from the government, and they can't like be taken care of, like if they have like some mental illness or something. She mentions that yeah, they don't want to accept help because then they're less of a man, and that is a huge problem. So that is why something has to be changed. like she talks about how suicide is the biggest killer among men at the age of 20 to 49, and that is very worrisome, you can say. And yeah, and the society has put on a role for men and women. You're like your um from your from your childhood, you have just like been put on this role that you have to be in control when you're a man, and when you're a woman you have to be like submissive. You have to let the man control you, and that is something that the society has put on you. It is just something that moves on from generation to generation, so it just keeps on going in cycles. So it will never end if we don't do anything about it. And he for she is therefore like freedom for both genders. It is not freedom for women, it is not freedom for men, it is for both. It is for the greater good for both of the genders. So yeah. And then she talks about why this Harry Potter girl like took the decision to hold a speech at the UN. And she says that like it could be anyone could hold this like presentation, because um you should fight for what you should fight for something that you really care about, a problem that you think should be changed. And that is why she was there that day to hold that speech and tell the audience why she thought that something has had to be changed. And she tells the audience like that it would take 75 years before men and women would be equally paid, and we need to speed up that process, because she would be 100 years before that would happen, and that is a huge problem in her opinion. And then at last she invites the audience to fight for equality. This is something that we all have to fight for, together, to like fight against like this like this inequality between men and women. So yeah. And the topic is, of course, gender equality. She talks like this is the main topic, of course. She wants us to really stand up and fight for the equality between men and women. And the writer is, of course, Emma Watson. Um, the reader or the audience, she like the way she talks and engages with the audience, it's very extraordinary. Like really uses the audience and talks with the audience and includes the audience, so you really feel like you're being a part of it. And that really makes a difference when you're holding a speech. It makes it a lot more like interesting, and you really feel like, hey, she actually, it's not only for her, it's for everyone in this audience. So you're feeling included in this speech, and that is very important. And then the circumstances is of course at the UN, and she has recently become an ambassador for the UN Women. And she like then the circumstances also then the circumstances is also like that men and women are not equal. They have never been equal, and that is something that has to be changed. So like the circumstances is something that has to be changed now. It is not something that we can keep like letting. We can't like let it be like this forever. So that is why the circumstances have has to be changed. So yeah, the language she uses is like very like very easy to understand. And she, like as I said previously, that she includes the audience, so like she engages with the audience. Yes. She uses different rhetorical devices, of course. Like she uses ethos, and that her ethos is like she's the UN ambassador for like women and stuff. Like she fights for women. Yeah, so yeah, she's like the UN Goodwill Ambassador for Women. So yeah, she's not just a random person, and that is why she wants to prove that she's not just this Harry Potter girl that we have all seen in the movies. And then she also uses logos, like when she talks about the statistics, like it would take 75 years for something to actually happen, like to something actually change. And she makes the reader, like the audience, think like, okay, this is actually a problem. Imagine like 75 years before we are actually equal, and you should like think that we are equal now, but in her opinion, and according to several statistics, we're not. And then she uses pathos, and she uses this in a like very like you can say like kind of manipulative way, I guess, or like she uses it very cleverly, because she includes everyone and says that this is not only a problem for me or for women, it is a problem for everyone. And then she uses our feelings, like we don't want this to happen to our children, right? We don't care if we're having a boy or a girl. That shouldn't really change whether or not they are going to have success in life, because we don't choose, sorry, the gender we are born as. And that is a very huge problem if you're already set behind from your very birth because you're born as a different gender. And that is something we have to change. And therefore, her purpose is that we should fight, change the current circumstances, and tell the world that we are all equal. We should stand up and fight for men and women, so we can finally like be equal and do things like saying, actually admitting that we have to be taken care of, and actually being treated equal, not only on the paychecks, but in every aspect of society. And that is something she really stands up for and really wants us to fight for, because that is very important right now. We have like come so far in our society, and this is a problem that has to be solved now.